that if you're a good guy, you have a good heart, you're kind, you're halfway decent, halfway good looking, halfway in good shape, then you're going to be a prize here. She's going to know that other Filipinas are going to want you. They're going to be chasing after you. And hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And today's topic is going to be red flags to look out for with your Filipina or Filipina that you may just be talking to, whether dating or just first meeting. But first, some housekeeping. First, I want to say thank you so much to all of our subscribers, both new and old. Got a lot of new subscribers from the last video. So grateful for that, and a lot of views. And thank you so much for your comments, your feedback. Still playing with some cameras and microphones, things like that. Remember, this is a new channel. I'm new at this. This is not a full-time professional job for me. It's just something that I do to try to help everyone, to educate. And I do appreciate all the positive feedback, all the positive comments. And for the negative ones, oh well, there's always going to be, some asshole out there that has nothing better to do with their time but to troll other people's videos and make nasty, disparaging comments and name calling. But it is what it is. So, there's many more positive comments than just a couple of negative ones. So, it is what it is. So, anyway, and again, if you find value in this video, please give me a thumbs up, like it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it with your family, friends, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I do upload new videos, which I will try to do every couple of days. And please, leave a comment, leave feedback. I do read all the comments, and no, I don't respond to every comment, especially the negative ones. I do my best to get to them all, but keep in mind, as we add new videos, people are still responding to videos that I did months ago. And leaving comments, so it's really difficult to keep track of all of them, but I do my best, and will get back to each and every one of them. But again, leave comments, leave feedback, leave suggestions for new topics. So, but moving right along, again, the topic today is red flags to look for. Now again, these are not in any particular order. These are not in These are not all inclusive. I'm sure there's going to be some that you've seen that I'm missing out on. These are based on my 2 years experience coming back and forth here in the Philippines, plus talking to a plethora of other foreigners that have dated or spoken to Filipinas. So, and again, each one of these, they don't stand on their own. So if your Filipina has one of these, it's not a deal breaker. These are just some things to look out for, things for you to pay attention to, and things for you to just monitor. Now if there's one of these that's an extreme, then it might be a deal breaker. But again, you have to use your own judgment. These are just things that I have witnessed, things that I have seen, and things that I have learned. So let's get going. Let's get on with the show. So the first one is jealousy. Obviously, that's the first one. Filipinos are world-known, world-famous for their jealousy. And I happen to, my personal belief is that a little jealousy is fine. It lets me know that you care. But too much jealousy, too much is when it creates too much drama, it becomes toxic. And every little move that's questioned, if a girl walks by, it's just too much is too much. And again, you have to, judge yourself. Use your own metric as to what you think is too much. But for me, that's definitely something to look out for. A little jealousy is not a red flag, but too much jealousy is definitely something that you want to think about. Number two is insecure. That kind of goes along with jealousy. It feeds it. But if your Filipina is really, really insecure, it is normal here, actually. These Filipinas, a lot of them, especially out in the provinces, they don't realize how beautiful they are. And a lot of times, you'll tell your Filipina. I used to tell my Filipina all the time how beautiful she was, and she would not like it. Oh no, I'm not beautiful. What are you talking about? What beautiful? And it is something that is normal in this society. But when it goes beyond that, when it feeds, more jealousy, more lack of trust, more, and again, just jealousy, if it becomes too toxic or causes too much drama, then that is something to look out for. The next one is a lack of trust. Again, follows along with insecurity and jealousy. But when your Filipina has no trust in you, and she doesn't have any belief in you, and she questions everything you say or everything you do, or where you are, or who you're talking to, and you tell her and she doesn't believe you, or accuses you of lying or making excuses, or just a complete breakdown in trust. And that's a big issue. And for me, that's a big red flag, because I believe that if there's no trust in a relationship, then there can't be a relationship. It's really, really hard to love someone that you don't trust. And so if your Filipina really has no trust in you, then it makes me wonder if she really can love you. So again, something to really look out for. And the next one is constant accusations. You know, if your Filipina is constantly accusing you of talking to other women, or you being with other women when she's not with you, or, you know, accusations of, you know, not being where you said you were going to be, basically anything. And again, it's one thing to question. You know, I would hope that in my relationship I would foster my Filipina to be secure enough where she could ask me anything. But when it's not asking and it's accusing, that's a very different mechanism, and that's something that's very different. Accusing is basically saying, you know, what she believes, and if you don't agree with her, then, you know, she may say that you're lying and not believe you, and that kind of spirals things out of control even further. But when it becomes constant, when it becomes every day, when it becomes too much, and again, when it starts causing too much drama, and it becomes toxic, and it's a daily or every other day kind of thing, that's a big red flag, and definitely something that you should look out for. And the thing that I want to really point out is that behind all of these things, you know, the jealousy, the lack of trust, the insecurity, the accusations, things like that, it's fear. You know, your Filipina is afraid. So on one hand, it's actually kind of a good thing, because that means she's afraid to lose you. You know, that means she really cares. You know, if she didn't care, she wouldn't be doing any of these things. Now, again, I take that with a grain of salt, because they really could have issues. You know, she really could be having some mental issues, or, you know, some insecurity issues, or some trauma from her childhood, or wounds from a past relationship. There could be a number of reasons why she exhibits this kind of behavior. But no matter where it comes from, or no matter where it stems from, fear is the basis of it. And she also knows at the same time that if you're a good guy, you have a good heart, you're kind, you're halfway decent, halfway good looking, halfway in good shape, then you're going to be a prize here. She's going to know that other Filipinas are going to want you. They're going to be chasing after you. And there's a lot of times I've heard stories where other Filipinas don't care if you have a girlfriend or if you're married, and they will try to take you away. I've heard stories where a Filipina sister will try to take their man away. So that is something that's always in the back of their mind, and something that, you know, you should look at. You know, just be considerate. You know, do what you can to reassure her. You know, do what you can to make sure that your bond is solid, that she is your only woman, that you're not with anybody else, you don't want to be with anybody else, and you do everything you can to reassure her. And at the end of the day, if you've done everything you can, and she still exhibits these things, then you have to consider if this is the right relationship for you or not, or this is the right woman for you. And you may have to consider moving on. You know, so the next item is if your Filipina constantly disappears or is very, very slow to respond to you when you message her. And this applies whether you're a long distance or whether you live here in the Philippines but not living together, obviously. If she disappears for days at a time, you don't hear from her, or she takes several hours or a day or two to respond to you, that's a red flag to me, you know. Because here in this culture, you will learn quickly that Filipinas, when they are into you, when they like you, they are all about you. And they will be reaching out to you, they will be communicating with you, they will respond to you quickly, and they're not going to go a whole day without speaking to you or hearing from you. So it's just part of their culture, it's part of their nature. But if your Filipina does that, it's something it's red flag, something you want to look out for. And of course, you will always have an excuse. Oh, I was out in the province visiting family, or I didn't have a signal, or I didn't have a load, or whatever. And again, that's fine. Those things could happen. Those things could be true. But if it becomes a habit, if it becomes a constant or consistent issue where it happens a lot, then it's something you want to look at. It's a red flag and something you need to analyze and really think about. I've heard stories again of Filipinos that, they work here in the city, but they go on the weekends to the province to visit family. But realistically, they're going back home to visit their husband or their real boyfriend or what have you. So again, just something to keep an eye out for, something to look out for, and something for you to think about. Another red flag, again, for me especially, is the complete inability to control their emotions. Yes, women by nature are emotional creatures. They tend to lash out and say things and do things that they don't mean. And a certain amount of that is okay. A certain amount of that you have to expect and you have to accept. But when there is a complete lack of controlling her emotions, when she lashes out, when there's hitting or breaking things or throwing things or just complete anger that seemingly comes from nowhere or over the smallest things, that is a red flag and something you definitely want to look out for. Another thing kind of goes hand in hand with constantly disappearing. But if your Filipina is constantly out with friends or constantly out drinking, and you can't hear from her, you can't reach her, you don't hear from her, things like that, that's something you want to look out for. You have to ask yourself, not that there's anything wrong with going out with your friends, going out and drinking, have a good time. But if this is a Filipina that you're in a relationship with, or a Filipina that you are talking to, that you're building a relationship with, getting to know each other, then that is a problem. Because again, Filipinos are all about their men. They're all about their family. And if she's going out with friends and not inviting you to go with her, that's something you want to look at, something you definitely want to think about. And if she disappears, I kind of mentioned this already, disappearing, that's an issue that you definitely want to look at. One thing too is if you're going to have issues, you're going to have arguments, you're going to have disagreements. And again, if your Filipina does some of these things where she causes an argument because she doesn't trust you or she accuses you of something or she's jealous or insecure or whatever the reason is, and there's an argument that she got upset with you about, how does she feel afterwards? Does she show any remorse for her behavior? Does she ever apologize? Does she ever take any responsibility for her actions? A lot of times I've heard stories where a Filipino will get upset with you and blow things out of proportion and cause a big, huge argument and blame you for how you responded to her behavior. Instead of taking responsibility for her behavior, she focuses on how you responded to it. And that's an issue. That shows a lack of maturity, a lack of emotional control, and possibly a lack of emotional stability. You want to look at that. Is she remorseful? Does she take accountability? Does she look at her own actions? Does she look at her own behavior and take responsibility and try to grow and try to learn from those things and try to change those things? Or, a famous thing in the U.S. is, and a lot of men mostly, is, this is who I am. This is how I am. Take it or leave it. And honestly, that's bullshit. We are who we are. We are who we choose to be. You're not hardwired to be any particular way or to behave any particular way or act any particular way. You're not hardwired to say things certain ways or anything like that. You choose how you behave. You choose how you act and what you say. Now, yes, we've all said things and done things that we regret, things that we wish we hadn't. But how do you feel about it afterwards? Do you regret something that you said? Do you regret that you've hurt somebody or done something or said something that hurt someone's feelings? Do you have any remorse? That is called taking accountability for your own part in that issue. And if your Filipina doesn't do that ever and never apologizes for her actions, then again, to me personally, that's a huge red flag. That's a sign of a lack of immaturity and something that could be a deal breaker for you in your relationship. But again, you have to weigh that with yourself. What you feel is enough and what is acceptable or not acceptable. And the next one is if she's constantly on her phone. My Filipina and I always had a rule that, when we were together, we were not on our phone. We had our phone, in case somebody texted or called or what have you, but our time was our time to be present with each other, especially at the dinner table. That was our time to talk to each other, see how our day was, and talk about life in general. It's not a time to be on our phone. So if your Filipina is with you and she's constantly on her phone, for me personally, that's a huge red flag, and if it's consistent and constant, where she does it all the time, that's a deal breaker for me, because that shows a complete lack of attention to me, a lack of care for me, a lack of interest in me, and I personally am not going to waste a lot of my time on a woman that wants to spend all her time on her phone instead of being present for me. Again, my own personal preference, my opinion, and just the way I feel about it, it's something that you need to look at if you're with your Filipina, and that's something that she does all the time. Again, my own thing. And then for me, something that I look at is, how she plans her life. Does she have any ambition or any goals? Does she have a job? Does she go to school? These are things that could be a potential red flag, and things for me that I look at. If you've got a Filipina that has no job, doesn't go to school, sits at home and does nothing, have no plans, then what is her plan? For me, it makes me wonder, is her plan to meet, is to do what a lot of people suggest, that Filipina wants a foreigner just for his money? Well, is that her plan? That she's not, interested in getting a job or going to school or having a career or anything like that, because she's sitting around waiting for a foreigner to come along and take care of her and support her financially. So it's something that you want to look at. Something that is, again, my own personal opinion, my own personal thing. I want a woman that's ambitious, that wants to do something with her life, that isn't want to just sit around and wait for me to take care of her, that maybe wants to start her own business, make her own money, to contribute to the family and have her own spending money, things like that. Again, things that you should look at, things that you want to consider. And that's it. That's my list for today. Again, any one of these are not a deal breaker to me personally. They may be to you. You have to look at them in the totality. A few of these, could be deal breakers. One or two of these that are extreme may be deal breakers. But again, these are just some things that I want to help you to look out for, things that you should look at when you're talking to a Filipina, or when you first meet a Filipina, when you're first getting to know a Filipina, or if you're already in a relationship with a Filipina, maybe you missed some of these, or some of these you saw but you chose to ignore. So hopefully maybe this video brought some attention to those things, and makes you think twice about whether this is the right woman, the right relationship for you. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I really and truly, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all of your views, all of your likes, all of your comments, all of your subscriptions. I really do appreciate it. I thank you. So again, if you found value in this video, please give me a thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share it with your family, friends, hit that notification bell. And I will talk to you next time. Peace.